Oh, hello. Good morning. Um, okay, so first I just have to. It was a national holiday yesterday here in Norway, and my partner got sick the evening before, and like completely sick, like couldn't contribute with anything. Uh, and we had the day off, so I was taking care of our 3-year-old. Luckily, our 7-year-old is just out with friends. But OMG, it's exhausting. Like there's so many nice moments, but it's just yeah, it's freaking exhausting. And I'm like, I've been from 70% to 80% from my own recovery, being sick. Oh my god. So yeah, I'm at 80%. Just had a big argument with my partner. Like we're just exhausted about kids, and we worry about stuff, and we have different approaches to things, and like it's finally getting nice outside. Like we've been waiting for spring, and now like yesterday was amazing. It was almost summer, and then you're just left with this exhausted feeling, like you're just waiting. I'm not sure what we're waiting for. We probably shouldn't wait for anything, but it's like it's so exhausting all the time that you're kind of, when does it end? And then some things do get a lot better, but then other things get worse, so you're kind of locked in this generic exhausted state. Parenting is rough. It's really rough. um yeah, but one day I'm still hopeful it will get easier. Like I'm not the word better is not the right term. Like it gets a bit easier, like it's less exhausting. That's what I mean. I'm waiting for it to be less exhausting, because when it's exhausting you're just a bad version of yourself. And in a partnership, like you just get into more arguments and stuff, and it's just, but it's all about just being exhausted, really. Anyways, so I did a little. So now I need to like dive into something, not think about life. Let's take reading on where we're at with the app. So maybe I should show it first. And I'm trying Z here, a new editor. I kind of, VS Code has become this point of friction for me, because at Code Sandbox we've been building kind of our own editor experience with elements of VS Code. Uh, but there's so much friction trying to build a new editor, especially with the history of Code Sandbox, which started as like VS Code in the browser before VS Code was actually a thing in the browser. It was a big ass hack. So there's so much friction in like the user base of what they want. And personally, I really love the experience we created. But now we kind of see that, okay, we'll make most users happy by just giving them VS Code in the browser. So we're doing that. But I just don't, I don't, there's something about it. For the work I do with code, it's just too verbose for me. It's too much IDE. Like VS Code started out more like said, it was very very simple setup, but now it feels like this huge ass IDE, which is great for people who needs all the tools and flexibility. But for me, I just want an editor that just works, and kind of puts everything to the side. Um, and Zed seems to do that. I really like this, and it's like insanely performant. So when you first go local, why not go with the most performant local, so you have like close to instant experience. um Anyways, that was my little rant on that. In the world of AI, I watched an interview. I wanted to share it let's see. Where is this interview? This one. Sorry. This is an amazing interview. I'm gonna put it in the comments. Can I do that? Not time. Can I add comments? Yeah. This is an amazing interview. It validated, first of all, yeah, I even had to comment. I really upvote the video, and I like never comment, but I had to comment. And this interview is with the CTO of SourceGraph, and they've been around since like 2013. But you just have to watch the interview because he's like so open, honest, sharing experiences in a very accessible way. And for what I'm doing now, it's really, it was very validating to me because I've been seeing like the limits of these LLMs and trying to create this agentic workflow, and there's so many reflections to be had on what they're good at, what they're not good at. As an example, he talked about, because they're really good at embedding, building context, basically building context for the LLMs. And he talked about how difficult it was to just provide the correct format of the context for the LLM to take best advantage of it. So it's not just about like, okay, let's create some embeddings of your code and create a search tool and then just include like whatever matches, and it will do fine. It's not that easy. So that was very interesting. But a bunch of other stuff was also very validating. So that was super nice. And then I had this idea, because maybe we should fire up the app first. How do can I create another one here? Let's see. New terminal. Nice. npm. I guess we can do electron yarn start. Not sure why I've been using npm and yarn between each other. Let's see. How can I do this? Can I like move this down somewhere? Ooh, this is nice. Because this is only to like start it. Yeah. Okay. Open project folder. And now let's just use the same prompt. And let's see. Yeah, so whatever, that's fine. So I've added like, yeah, so we added threads. So now the product manager has its own thread. You can discuss these user stories. And even though I have to provide it, this is the current set of user stories to make sure that it actually updates the existing user stories as opposed to suggesting new ones. You still have a context. So if you say, I want to do this, and then you suddenly just say, oh, forget about that, it will actually revert it correctly. And it has context around the changes. It's just a prompt that has this verbosity of actually sending in the list of user stories every time. But that's fine. So what we're going to do before moving to planning here, we are going to just review the agent, and I'm going to update its instructions. I'm going to remove this priming thing I was looking at. And yeah, that's all we're going to do. And then we're going to get into planning. But I want to talk about planning first. User writes a description of a task using blah, blah, blah. Approve. One thing I don't... what I don't like about the behaviors is how it's like listed as an array here. It's like, it's more like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's how I read it. So yeah, I'm a little bit unsure about that. But it's good. It's good. And then we get the proof of concept, what I do is that it shoves this into sandbox, and then like I can test it here, and then I can approve it. And when I approve it, it puts the proof of concept in there as code, and then it stores this as a file in the project. So this is our current working idea. So if I refresh the application now, we'll have this idea, and we can move to planning or whatever we want to do with it. Yes. And this is interesting because, yeah, and there was another thing I wanted to show as well. I forgot about that. So I also just watched this. I guess it's not here anymore. Let's look at my log. Yeah, this one. So yeah, so they're talking about this as inspiration, right? It's not an actual agentic workflow to do stuff for you. And they're really smart about this, GitHub. They're like leaning slowly into what is to eventually become something. And so this is about actually having an idea, and they're using a template. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening here. And then based on that description they created, by the way, they're speeding this up like crazy, which is interesting. They have this description, and it's quite verbose. Like it's something that an engineer would write. You see this? Like they're giving suggestions, and it's something that an engineer would have to know, but I don't think they would actually write this. I think this is where it falls flat. It's that with these demos, there's so much ambiguity reduction in the initial prompt, because the prompt it's already like the prompt engineering is happening at the first prompt by the they expect their users to be prompt engineers and understand the level of details that needs to be given to get like a proper result. So I don't think that any user of this would actually write it to the detail. Like just say update package JSON. Like you wouldn't write that. You would just say you would kind of expect it to infer that, right? Or you can't, at least you can guarantee that the user will actually write this, because there's no UI that says that you need to write it at this level of detail. So that I find that very interesting. I'm thinking like here there should actually be more of a conversation to reduce ambiguity and kind of identify the level of detail that needs to be there to be able to even start a task. Anyways, so this is very like engineered. And like even considering like, okay, if I add a task, like this is not how humans are. Like even just writing, when you add a task, make sure this happens when you delete it, like this interface change. This is not something we consider when we write the initial suggestion. Like it's maybe in our heads, but we're really bad at conveying that in text. This is something you would kind of identify as you understand better what your current description results in. That's the thing. You need a way to iterate on this, which I think needs to be improved here to actually be valuable. Anyways, like in general, this is super impressive. I'm not here to like say that they've done a bad job. It's just sharing my own like experiences trying to do something similar. So and this is really interesting. Like they're writing this statement of validation. Not sure what this current thing is. Oh, yeah. So this is really, oh, interesting. So this is kind of what I was trying to do with the product manager. By allowing it to read the summary of the application, it should be able to like, yeah, that's interesting. Like they're kind of converging that suggestion to a question. Oh, that's very interesting. But yeah, I haven't actually tested that. So the product manager agent has the full summary of the application. So if you suggest something that's already there, it should be able to say that it's already there. I don't know. We can test that. Well, that was at least the idea. That's why it's given that summary. So this is basically just figuring out, does this even make sense? Oh, current. That's what they mean by current. Yeah, and then from this template, they're running like probably a code spaces instance that, let's see, current proposed. Oh, this is interesting. So they're kind of saying this is the current and this is what it should, this is the validation it needs to do. That's very interesting. So they're kind of, yeah. So proposed, I guess that means based on this description I've given, these are the validation steps to validate that these things are actually in the application. But it's also interesting that it states like the app includes components, add task list, and task item to manage tasks. Yeah, I guess this, to me, this is they're kind of separating the. So you can think of idea is just that input field here, and then proposed would be like what I think of as an implementation plan. Because this is what I talked about, like identifying what files to create and all that stuff. But they kind of do it as a validation, a list of validation steps, which is really interesting. But then they do planning. Okay, so the planning here is the specific files. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So just that you have to go in here and do npm install, that makes sense for an engineer. But again, it didn't actually say anything, did it? I guess I saw it in the preview. And this is also really cool. Like you can actually go in and manipulate it at the level of planning. But at the same time, yeah, for the thing I'm building, I wouldn't do that because the user isn't supposed to do anything here. It will be like a full circle. Like it will have to be a new idea after that. But for an engineer, it makes a lot of sense. What's also interesting here is they're using Git probably, being GitHub, to create like a to allow for like redo undo. So every time you so you create like a commit with all these changes, and then if you make any changes on top of that, it kind of builds a new commit, and then the undo redo is probably like just popping commits and stuff, or reverting commits. One thing that I'm most curious about here is how does it understand what files to create and what files to change? That's the thing that concerns me the most. Like, how do you validate that? Like, you can't really validate that, or can you? So it can easily come up with a suggestion on like where to implement something, but is it the correct place to implement it? How would it know that without trying? Mm, so that's an interesting thing. But anyways, so they're yeah, and then they're like testing it. And this is also interesting. Like now it's actually implemented all of this before you kind of. And this is a simple app. It's literally the same thing we're testing with, which is funny to me. But it's like there's no persistence or anything here. So this is like literally the POC that we have, which is interesting. And then yeah, so that's the planning. And this is also interesting to me. This is the planning, and they're validating during the planning. And then they have implementation? Is this the implementation? No. And this is the thing, right? What they're showing here is that like this demo is very engineered. Like it's currently it's just iterating on UI is such a bad experience. Like even with when we built up the idea here and looking at the proof of concept, like the button and the input was very close to each other, and I can write. I should have done that. Yeah, maybe we can do that because I just want to talk about this stuff for now. But I have to go in and where's my development? My test project. I think this is where it's. Oh, how do I show that? There we go. Web assistant idea JSON. I think I have to restart it. Yeah, I'm gonna show you. Let's see. I have to put in the whole thing again. Sometimes it actually breaks, and that's like just a general API error over at OpenAI. Like we could not finalize your request or something. Or there seems to be some queuing going on here. Anyways, yeah, so we can, let's see. Ugh, that's annoying. Should we just try again maybe? Let's see. Ah, do they have an issue over at OpenAI? Or am I out of money? I might be out of money. Where's my... Here we go. I think it's like... it's so sad that it's like under settings and billing. That's where... No, I have tons of money. That's weird. Okay, we can talk more about that when OpenAI is back on track. But what's interesting about this is my point is that it's too tedious to adjust UI with an AI because it needs to, like, it's just really, it's not bad at it, but the only way you can do it is by using natural language. So it's more like we are bad at describing the visual change in our heads. So for example, what I would do is like the add task and the input will be stuck together. And I would say create some spacing between the input and the add task button. Because in my mind, that means just add some spacing between them. But I didn't say the direction, right? to me, it was like horizontally. But what would typically happen is that it would jump on the next line. But indeed, it had spacing, but it was vertical spacing. So me not specifying that didn't end in the result I expected. And I could, even from that simple example, I could argue, oh, the LLM is dumb. A better model would understand what I mean. No, it wouldn't, because that is a pretty critical detail. If it's vertical or horizontal spacing. So using natural language to iterate on UI is really, really bad. And I'm sure people have experienced this, like especially designers. Probably, like there's this famous story of well, that's more like someone in like HR or something is emailing a designer in the company to ask him or her to create like a missing cat poster. It's so bad. It's just messing with this other person, creating all these iterations. But my point is, designers, I don't think they enjoy very much discussing design with people who don't understand design, because people just don't understand like the specificity that's needed to output what's in the mind of the person who has this idea or wants to discuss or whatever. So that's why they're long story short, that's why they're showing it in code, right? Because that's how you iterate, and they even speed it up so it looks like you're just fixing it very quickly. So this is one of the really bad parts of this flow is building the correct UI. And I've been playing around with like use Excalidraw to create like a wireframe, and it actually works because the LLM is much better at taking this wireframe and creating natural language description that another LLM can use to create something that looks similar. Like, it's not always perfect, of course, but it's much better than me trying to explain how I want it to look. Way better. So that's one way to do it. And I would also imagine, like, you can just drop an image. So if you have working in a product team, you have a Figma file, you can just drop the image in there, and then it will actually generate something from that. I think that's really how you want to do it. So as part of the idea, you also drop in images of the result, and that's how you actually generate the UI. But yeah, it would be nice to have some way to I don't know how you would do that, create a good experience around that. Anyways, blah blah blah. They're doing this thing. And they have a snapshot. Like, it's very, very cool. Like, they're probably going to kick ass with this. Because just imagine just learning from this. But what I don't understand is, like, where does implementation come in? Create a repository? What was implementation and what was planning here? Did I misunderstand something? Yeah, I'm not sure what this is. When do they actually move to implementation? That wasn't obvious to me. Maybe they say it and I didn't see it. Maybe when they implemented the initial plan. Yeah, probably. So the initial plan was implemented and then they were able to. But what to take away from this is that they're doing it by steps, right? So they're instructing some kind of agent flow or a single agent or whatever to do each step. And this is also something I'm concerned about, because that requires each step to be completely isolated. And I don't think you can reliably expect that. you can say that each step should be implemented in isolation, but it's like, how do you code? Like, you really like take a complex task, you you do create some plan in your head, but you jump between things all the time because you kind of discover like their dependencies. And just for example, uh, understanding that, okay, if for example we're using Firebase and Vue, and you want to create a component that uses some Firebase feature, how do you make sure that the LLM understands that, oh, it should go and implement Firebase first, and then it should implement Vue and import from Firebase? So it's almost like, I'm not sure how valuable like the we think about code a lot, but I think about there's some inherent nature to the code that's more important. For example, the dependencies. So I think it makes a lot of sense to base your plan on files, but they need to be ordered by dependency. So which file depends on what other file. So you and you go there first. But then it's interesting again, like my Firebase example. Okay, so I'm gonna add a new persist task function in the Firebase file, and you need to do that before you can implement the Vue file, because the Vue file, yeah, no, I guess it makes sense, depends on the Firebase file. And then if you want to create a new component, yeah, so you have to start with the leaf files, right? So if you create a new component, you have to create the new component before you import it. So, and it's doing that here, like it's creating the task item. So maybe it's just ordered by, okay, added files first, then modified files later. But that's not only always the case, right? You might have an existing Vue file and Firebase file and you're making a change to it. Like, how do you know which file depends on the other file? And I think that needs to be that. This is the level of consideration we have to make to make these things work. An LLM wouldn't just understand that out of nothing, I think. At least not now. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, look at this. And had an error processing. Sorry about that. Kind of sucks if we can't use the project, if we're gonna build on it. Anyways, those were some reflections. But I had this crazy idea, which might not be that crazy. Listening to SourceGraph, they have a product where you can ask about the code base. And they do some very intelligent like code understanding to like build as much of the correct context, but it's as little of it as possible. But then I was thinking, oh, now it's working again. I was thinking like in our context, it's not about like searching code or anything like that. We just want to figure out where things fit in. Or we want to ask at a much higher abstraction about the code. And we didn't need to do that efficiently. So I was talking about like, let's just give it all the code and it can just figure it out. But then I was like, we already have this summary of the code. What if we took each file and created Markdown? Like we say, this file, summarize the contents of this file in Markdown. And that's what you... and that's what you're gonna pass to the LLM. And I would expect that embedding search will be way better as well, because you're searching on natural language. You're not searching on a ton of tokens that doesn't make any sense. Because you're searching for conceptual things in the code. So why not just remove all the code and keep the conceptual part in Markdown? In the language of an LLM, consumed by an LLM. And the only reason to do that is not to use that to implement the new code, because you need existing code to implement new code. It's just to find the files you need to put into your plan. So we're gonna try that because it's just a cool idea. And what we can do is that from the summary of each file, we can create the general summary of the application, which is also an interesting idea. So when you change a file, we'll go to OpenAI and we'll send the code and ask it to create a new summary, and that will trigger a new overall summary. And you can even do this by folders, right? I've seen talks about like doing oh my god, that word, hierarchical embeddings, and you could kind of do that by file structure. So you can imagine like going to the deepest levels of your code, and you create conceptual abstractions in Markdown of contents of code, and then you create folder summaries, and then you create like summaries above that and above that. That would be really interesting. And to me, that makes a shit ton of sense, because you're not, at least from the concept of moving yourself away from the code, like it makes some more sense to make it conceptual. And then at the end of the day, like the final step is actually looking at the code and making changes to the code. Anyways, so I thought we would actually, that's what we're going to play around with today, is bringing back our embeddings. But they're going to be Markdown summaries of the files. And by the way, I have an example. Let's see. So I tried just giving it, let's see. So I gave it this whole file. It's from the project. And like it's a shit ton of code there. And I asked it to, what did I ask it to? I have the following code. Blah, blah, blah. Tons and tons of code. And then I asked it, could you summarize what this code does in a Markdown format? Sure. Workspace class. The workspace class is defined, which manages the workspace environment for an application. It interacts with OpenAI's API to provide conversational capabilities within the application. Upon initialization, blah, 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 message handling, router creation, user stories management, debugging, planning. Like it even has like the core concepts of, and this is GPT 3.5, and disposal. So when you want to understand where, so you have some natural language about a change, and you need to figure out where does this natural language fit in to your code. What if you could rather say, where does this natural language fit in with this other natural language? So you have a natural language representation of your code base. And I think that makes a lot more sense for an LLM to do. And it also takes advantage of what LLMs are really good at, which is changing the format of documents. So what we're doing here is we're changing the format from code to Markdown, which sounds silly. But this is what LLMs do really, really well, is changing the format. But reasoning that this natural language should result in these code changes, that is, first of all, is too ambiguous. But it's also like a big step. Like there needs to be some transformations along the way. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, so we have that thing. Seems like OpenAI is back on their feet. Maybe. It's very slow though. That sucks. Oh, it's gonna get hot here today. It was like almost 20 degrees here yesterday. It was like summer. It was amazing. Funny story. Like we have a playground right outside, and I never felt more like white trash in my life, because I was out with a 3-year-old, and as I said, I was just exhausted, and he was just doing whatever he wanted. So he was running around in his diaper and like a fire truck t-shirt with a water gun and his face was like covered in dirt and sand and ketchup. And then there's this um like Latin America American couple with their maybe 2-year-old. But the reason I say Latin American is a cultural thing, because like they dress way better than Norwegians, and their kids also dress much better. So their kid had like this really, first of all, he was like clean, and he had like this summer hat and this like summer dress, and then my kid is like running around there in his diaper, like squirting water at. He didn't squirt water on the other kids. That's a good. Like he's a good guy, right? But it just looks like, oh my god. Anyways, let's prove this. Yeah, I wanted to show you like how bad iterating UI is. So let's see here. So here, yeah. So here's the example. Maybe it does the right thing now, but it's not given. So, yeah, I do have the repo here. Let me share it with you. Sorry, I'm starting these streams in Ecamm. I'm using Ecamm on my Mac. It's a streaming app, and it's all like the description is always new, right? And I just immediately go and stream. It's not planned or anything, so I forget to like, maybe I should just insert like a default thing. Anyways, where is it? Web Dev Assistant, and it's currently on the V1 branch. Yeah, so this is the repo. And I'm like pushing, yeah, it's kind of a funny commits history here. It's just like, I'm just learning and exploring and proof of concepting. So yeah. So you have like these types of commits. Okay, better. Okay, even better. That kind of stuff. Anyway, so could you create some spacing between the input and the add button? Yeah, it did exactly this. Oh, but they should still be next to each other. But it's kind of cool that now you can have this kind of conversation with each of the agents. Hopefully, that's what we did with the threads. Yeah, so you see that? Like, just putting that button next to the input took like 2 iterations. And it's like, it's not good enough. That's a bad way to. And also here, like, what if you want, I don't want this border or this card feeling. Like, how do you describe that in that natural language and make it actually handle that? And then you want a different color. And how do you express, like, there's so many colors, right? So it's, I'm very curious on how to create a good experience building the visuals of a web application. One thing is writing the code, but just expressing the visuals you expect. And then for it to validate. That's the expected result. And as I mentioned, like using DALL-E isn't such a good idea. Where is it? In here? Yeah, like this is the stuff like DALL-E comes up with. It's creative, right? So yeah, it's a very interesting challenge. But anyways, let me just check my Slack here so I'm not neglecting my colleagues. Cool. Okay. But this is like, I think this is pretty cool. And what we were going to do before we actually start with the markdown embedding stuff is that we're going to just clean up the agents for the user stories. Well, first we're going to remove this priming thing. I don't think that has any. The primers were like, you would be able to create a list of questions to build up the context. So you could say, what is a product manager, and what um how would you, whatever, like you could create some questions and that would be run on an LLM before the whole app initializes and build up like a pre-context for the agent. It was based on a video that asking these questions before asking your actual question just builds up some context for how it should output its response. But it felt overkill. But it was a cool exploration. I guess that's it. We just remove those two because it's not actually doing anything now. Whoa, what happened there? Oh, it was a bunch of errors. Oh, this is interesting. No, I guess here it's, yeah, here are the errors. Yeah, you'll have to excuse me. I haven't used, yeah, here you can see. What do you know about this application? What user experiences are in this application? How would you approach creating user stories for this application? Let's remove those. And let's remove these. And we're going to clean up these. We're going to create this kind of prompt. And also we have this clarification needed. I haven't actually returned that. Wait, doesn't sed have oh, interesting. Oh, I actually have to, oh, I guess that's kind of nice. So what we can do for each of these agents is that, can I rename symbol here? I want to keep this as just user stories. Oh, interesting. Wow. I'm not sure what's actually happening here, but yeah, cool. Yeah, so we have these the JSON response, and you can add like specific things you want to extract. Like I want this product manager to identify if clarification is needed, for example, and then we can choose how we want to expose that. And I also thought we would add some suggestions here. Wow, it's really warm in here. I'm not sure what we're gonna do about that. But what we're gonna do here is list of key interactions. We're just gonna clean up, yeah, so it doesn't actually have any instructions. So let's ask ChatGPT to give us some could you give me you are an expert prompt engineer. Could you give me, but I can make this bigger. Could you give me suggestion on instructions for an agent that identifies key interactions from user stories? It just creates better doing it than me. Oh my god, this is too verbose. Oh my god, this was way too much. I wanted a simple thing. Okay, I'm just gonna write my own then. And we're gonna create something. We're just gonna create something like this. I don't want to go into like the prompt engineering of this now. This can always be improved. Like now we're at a level where it actually works and you actually get reasonable results. User experience and engineer. will assist. In a team, you will assist the team by oh my god, I don't want to do this. This is so boring. Can I just get like a short? Could you just give me a short instruction? Use feedback to refine and improve. Okay. What I have a feeling is gonna happen is like it's gonna try to. Well, we can try this. Key and extract actions and decisions where the user will assist with the web application. And pay attention to the circumstances surrounding each and to grab this on the users. This is too. I guess I have to do it on my own. I'm much more eager to go and look at the embedding stuff. That's what I was looking forward to today. Anyways, let's just give a short one. You are an expert user experience engineer. That understands how to derive key user interactions from user stories. You describe these key interactions. By the way, is the size okay? Maybe we should do bigger. And even bigger, like that. You describe these key interactions. Bringing in. I mean, what? Including what web elements are involved. Something like that. Yeah, so what we're doing here is I have the following user stories. As I said, we have to bring in the user stories, and then we should not have to do this anymore because now we have it in the instructions, and now it will be better at like conversing, because now this would indicate like from these user stories, but that doesn't make any sense. How did I do it with the product manager? Yeah, with the following user stories. Oh, but we should probably have, yeah, I have to do the same here. So yeah, how should we do this? So to keep like it updating the interactions, we have to pass in the interactions there to do the same as product manager. But it also needs to start with like the initial set of user stories, but those don't need to be listed every time because they don't change. So we should really, this should really be interactions, and then we have the prompt, and then yeah, so it should actually be exactly like this, only it should be interactions. So that this is the kind of the format we're going to lean on. This is the thing I've had most success with. Interactions. interaction with the following interactions, and then I have my input here, and that just ensures that we continue like iterating on the same list. That's the point. And here we could add like suggestions and stuff, but we're not going to do that. And then we have this behavior. Yeah, there's no instructions here. And let's just do you're an expert engineer that understands how user interactions affects the state of the application. Describe how the state of the application changes based on the interactions. How to use how user interactions affects the state of the application. Describe how the state of the application changes based on the interactions. So we're calling it behaviors here. But yeah. Anyways, let's just keep it at that. And we're going to copy the same thing here. And we're going to do behaviors. Behavior. Thought about creating some helpers for doing this stuff, but yeah. It needs to be copy paste for now. Do we still have errors? 7 errors. Interesting. Where are these errors? Is it because I have... Oh yeah, I have primers here as well. And then debugging also has primers. That should help. And then we have... Can I jump into... No. Then workspace has some errors. Okay, I guess this will resolve itself. Behaviors. And then we have instructions. You're an expert designer that understands how to convert you're an expert designer that understands how to code view components. You will create a proof of concept. You will create a proof of concept without persistence, permission, considerations, just components and design or styling. And here we do the thing. Cool. So that's kind of it. I'm not sure why it's complaining here. Oh yeah, we have prompt now. So this will be behaviors. Prompt will be nothing. I guess. And then we have prompt here. Oh, UX engineer. Oh yeah, so this is the thing. So here we have interactions will be empty, and then the prompt here would be I have the following user stories. We actually have to prompt it with the initial user stories. User story. Join. Something like that. Things might get a little bit worse now. We'll see. But at least now, prompt agent. Yeah, and now we need to just add, let's see. So this would be state, is it interactions? If interactions are not approved, we're going to talk to the UX engineer. And we're going to give, not the user stories, but we're going to give the interactions. Interactions. You have to excuse me. I'm still, yeah, as I said, 80%, still a bit sick. So that's interactions, and then we have what controls the conversation with the engineer, and then we have behaviors, behaviors. Okay, so that should handle like the conversation. Now you can converse with each agent in every step. Cleans that up. And then there was a problem in the agent router. Oh yeah. Primers. Like that. Cool. I'm just gonna see if the flow works. Yeah, and we're just gonna save an idea. Probably broke it. Oh, I have to add. Oh, sorry. I didn't know I have to add to broadcast. Oh, that was something else. Sorry. Does that get away? Does it remove itself? What the hell? Anyways, sorry, I'm learning this stuff. What the hell did I do? Undefine. Oh yeah, I think it's the we didn't catch any errors in the client. User stories flow. Does it have any errors? Oh, why did it pop up down there? That's weird. Yeah, user stories. There we go. All right. I'm curious if anything changes now with the change instructions. That wasn't very good, was it? And this is what I'm very wonder about these instructions. I don't understand what these instructions really are, because if you don't understand how to derive key user interaction from user story, describe these key interactions, including what web elements are involved. So if I write that in the instructions, it doesn't actually do it. But if I just move this down after the prompt, then it does it. So to me, it seems like instructions aren't worth that much. You rather want to compose the prompt so that you just on every prompt you kind of tell it what to do. Yeah. So if I do this, and then we do this. Oh, this. Then it should get better. Suggest key interaction, including what web elements are involved. Yeah. So yeah, I'm very, and you saw they didn't even have any instructions, and they performed just as fine. So yeah, I'm very curious about these instructions, what they're actually good at, because I haven't found like where I see them being better, like making the, oh, this is by the way the suggestions. You see that? Now it does it. So yeah, to me, instructions perform much better when you just add it to the end of the prompt than actually putting them into instructions. Yeah, I have to blow my nose. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so this is interesting to me. I haven't found a use case for instructions. I wonder if there's any like research or OpenAI difference between. I think these instructions, you know, they are just there to, like, they're part of the. Well, you can send them in through the API. Yeah, OpenAI instructions versus prompt. Use the latest model. Put instruction at the beginning. Why at the beginning? I have the exact opposite experience. It could be. Okay, we're gonna try something. So now we have like a very predictable result there. So I just need to understand this. So what if we just flip this around? So is it more that okay, let's just do that. Let's see what happens. Is it me not like pointing to the thing in the instruction? Because when it's like following something, it becomes more of a natural continuation. But if you prelude with like the instruction, you have to kind of point to what content am I instructing you towards. No, this also works better. Yeah, no idea what this instruction is. Do I even send it? Maybe it's a bug. Let's see if I actually send it. Add message. Let's see. Wait, this is in the assistant thread. Where's the assistant thread? Oops. Maybe that's the reason. Oh wait, sorry, this instruction, sorry. But still, create thread or assistance thread. Instructions. We're getting the instructions here. Let's see. I want to check this. Are we actually passing in the... When we create it, are we actually... No, we're not passing in the freaking instructions. That's why it's not working. That's why it's not working. That's silly. That's just silly. Instructions. Instructions. Okay, now it makes more sense. Because what I think OpenAI does is that when you put it in the actual instructions, it makes sure that those instructions are always part of the context window, which is important. But at the same time, like, yeah. But let's see now. But that was good that we did that test, because that was a huge ass bug. So we are gonna put it back into the... Where's my... I don't like that it doesn't like... Where are you? UX engineer. Oh. Your next video that how to learn from user stories. Describe these key interactions, including what blah blah blah. And then we can play around with Markdown. Oh, now it's actually getting the instructions. So now it's actually much better here as well. Oh, that's embarrassing. Yeah, so this is what I want to control the experience, and an LLM is by default very creative. And the product manager in this case doesn't understand that we're stuck with a specific technology stack. So it says like, please provide details on the technology stack. I don't want that, because this person using this app doesn't know how to code and doesn't understand what a technology stack is. But as a product manager, it makes sense to know what that is, and it doesn't quite understand this. So this is me just testing. So I'm really controlling the experience having these lists here. So they have kind of two purposes. Write the description of a task in the task management interface. What the fuck? You're an expert user experience engineer that understands how to write key user from user. Describe these key interactions, including what the web elements are. Yeah, so these are the instructions now. But still, like, it doesn't include the web elements without me actually putting it into the prompt. So I feel like instructions is more persona. That's where I see it has value. It's like, who are you? It's not what are you gonna do. So if I do this and I say, and I do this, then it's just much better. And I can also control, are you updating? What's the, like I can control the prompt based on input from the state of the application. So I know that is it the first time? So you can suggest something, or is it like the user prompting? Yeah. Suggest key interaction, including what web elements are involved. Yeah, so I think we're gonna think that way. So we're gonna change this as well. So I'm gonna even change instructions to persona, because I don't think it makes any sense to have instructions there. At least I don't have any good experience with that term. Yeah, I think that needs to be handled more low level. Like we could have instructions and then it would rather be included when you generate the prompt. We would include instructions at the end of the prompt, but you might not always want, you want different instructions based on the input, right? That's what we're talking about here. So I think that needs to stay as a low level thing. And then we're going to rename this to persona. That's at least going to help me reason about this. What was that? Was that agents router? Do we have an error? Persona. Ugh, what did I do? Persona. No. That's 6. Where is it wrong now? Instructions. So I think I can still call it instructions here, but we're gonna pass in the persona. Oh, yeah, and this. On-send prompt emitter. There should also be a persona. Why are you complaining? Persona. Persona. What am I missing here? Oh, here we go. Oh, it even has primers. So persona. There we go. Oh, yeah. Now we get the correct errors here. So this would be, yeah, on-send prompt emitter. Yeah, here we have the prime agents. We're just going to remove prime agents. And then the on-send prompt emitter needs to have persona. And then in workspace, we have persona. And then we're not going to prime any agents anymore. No priming. Cool. Is it happy now? One error. Where is the error? Watching. Where's the error? Which file? I find is debug. Does planning have? No, that was right. Okay, 0 errors. Let's try now. By the way, let's look at the. Is it because I double click it? Why does it pop up? What if I do? Oh, now it pops up there. Oh, it's because I'm focusing there. That's interesting. I guess it makes sense. Designer. Yeah. What's it called? View components using Tailwind CSS. Like that's fine because I already please create a single view component. Cool. Let's just get through that and then get our idea stored. And then let's look at this. Oh, so I need to have a retry button. This is more of a GPT 3.5 thing, but sometimes it just doesn't. It just doesn't come up with anything for some reason, and that can happen. So there should be like try again kind of thing, or maybe I broke it. No, this has happened a few times, which is to be expected. Like it can happen. Like the array can be empty. What do you do when the array is empty? Okay, these are fine. To a list. Oh, this is weird. Oh, did I pass the actual? Damn it. Are we stuck in prompt engineering? That sucks. So engineer, you're an expert in how the user interactions affects the state of the application. Oh, I didn't give it actual instructions. I forgot. So suggest behaviors that reflect how the state of the application changes. Oh, and we're not passing in. We're actually not passing in. Yeah, I think we have another bug as well. That reflects how the state application changes. So in the workspace, where do we actually run agent? So here we're running the UX engineer. Here we're running the engineer, but we don't have any prompt. Oh, and we even have, yeah, so this is wrong. This should be behaviors. My bad. Oh, wait a minute. Wait, I'm confused. So if interaction is pending. Oh, sorry. This is approved user stories. I'm confused by that. There are different points there. You have like the user prompting, you have the user clicking approve, and then they have an agent completed. It's like 3 points of interactions, which is like, I want to abstract this, but currently we need that flexibility, but it confuses me sometimes. So when we approve, the click like approve, and the interactions are pending, we are gonna we're gonna do this. This is what we're gonna do. Excuse me. And then behaviors is empty. I have the following. And the question is, do we pass in the user stories or do we pass in the interactions? I think we're gonna pass in the interactions. Interaction, because they're just more verbose. I have the following interactions, and then it will produce like, yeah, the suggestion. And then here we do have the prompt, and all the things. Yeah, that was a bad bug by me. Let's see. Wonder. Please provide more details on the user stories. I wonder why. Why it seems to be empty more often. Oh, sorry. I'm very confused by it not like sticking to the main panel, and it's kind of annoying behavior. It's extremely confusing. Oh, didn't I? Oh, sorry. I'm not actually prompting it to. This is my bad. So, please suggest some user stories. Did I remove that? Approve. Approve. To the list of tasks to include a new task. The user views the updated list task on the screen. User selects the task and clicks the button to remove the task from the list. Yeah, so this is what I mean. It's like it uses these. Yeah, it's the 1, 2, 3 thing. But I can change the format of this. So we can play around with that, but we're not going to do that now. But I'm going to comment it. Where are you? Engineer. Change the format so that each behavior is a step-by-step list. But it's good what it's doing. It's saying user writes task description and the user clicks add task button to add a task description. The list of tasks displayed on the screen is updated to include a new task. And that's good. And then let's approve this. And then we have it stored. And now we can jump into the fun stuff that I was waiting for or looking forward to. Yeah. But it's interesting, like how do you... So you can imagine, like comparing this to just talking to a single agent, you have this ambiguous idea and we need to find a way to make it less ambiguous. And here I'm using these very specific concepts like user stories, interactions, and behaviors to kind of first flush out what exactly is this idea from a conceptual perspective. And then interactions is what do you expect the user to actually do in the application? And then behaviors is how do you expect the application state to change when these interactions occur? And that kind of wraps like the gist of what you need to know in terms of, or the gist of ambiguity reduction. But there's more to this. There's also like technology choices here, like persistence. Do you want to actually persist in local storage in a database? And these things also needs to be fleshed out, but I'm not sure where that should be fleshed out. And then you could argue, like, couldn't you have one agent where you just say, you should build this plan? that has user stories, interactions, behaviors, and technology choices or something, and a proof of concept. And maybe that would work, but the prompt engineering for that to make sure it actually performs well on all of these things is just way more complicated. So you're kind of splitting up the problem um, by having multiple agents, and you can fine tune each agent. You can prompt engineer, like actually put in your brain the required prompt engineering and reflect on the effect of changing the prompt. You can imagine having one agent for creating this full document. You might make a change related to interactions, and suddenly your user stories change because of you changing your prompt. Like, it just gets overwhelming. Yeah. But yeah, the embedding. So I have this embedder, and I've been playing. So I played around a lot with all of this stuff. So I have like a bunch of tests in the back of my mind. I'm really bad at writing things down, but it's all there. So um, I have some different embeddings and I had some different approaches, but currently I'm not running the embedder. Is it initialize? Yeah, here we go. So this is the watcher for the file system. We're not actually changing the file system, so we don't need this watcher. But what we're going to bring back is we're grabbing the files to embed. We're actually reading the files now. So we have the files. We don't need the component examples. So one thing is like embedding based on like your code base. Another thing is embedding like documentation stuff. So I played around with that as well. I would love to talk more about that, but that's kind of the final, that's the cherry on top. It's like these LLMs has a lot of knowledge about Tailwind and Firebase and Vue just because it's part of their training data, but it's not updated data, and it's not specific Tailwind components that I want this to be. But where do we? Okay, so here we actually iterate the evaluated files, and we're getting the vectors for this. So what are we gonna do here? We're actually not gonna create any embeddings for now. We're just gonna what are we gonna do? Let's start by just trying to summarize the files in Markdown. What is this? Code JSON? Oh yeah, this is all the. Oh yeah, so this is the summary. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna do summaries, and we're gonna do evaluated files, and we're gonna map over those, and we're gonna await a promise all of this mapping. And this is gonna be async. It's gonna be a map to a promise. Evaluated file. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna do this thing. I don't think we need to put it into queue. Like, I'm afraid of rate limiting and stuff. So I'm asking like one file at a time. So I guess we can do that. So, oh, but yeah, it kind of sucks. Maybe we should do that now. Or I don't want to get stuck in it. This queue I implemented doesn't actually allow you to await. It doesn't allow you to like await the adding of the item. I'm not sure why I do. Why did I do this? Response. Oh. Or is it a quick thing? It would be nice because then we can like. No, we're gonna do this instead. We're gonna drop the summary. this. And then whatever. So in here, we're actually going to just do a new promise. And this is going to be a promise of string. And it's going to be resolved always. And then we're just going to await. Oh, what the hell did I do? Did I want too much? Too many? Is that right? Oh my god, I messed it up. So that's that thing, and then that thing. Oh, there we go. What was the how do I grab the response? Oh, I forgot that. There's the summary. We're just gonna give it this thing. That's the response, and then we're just gonna resolve with this, and this should be the summary. And then the prompt is gonna be yeah, we're also gonna give it, let's see, file path string and summary string. Summary file path is evaluated file dot. Oh, I'm used to it kind of auto popping up, but I kind of like that I have to explicitly do it. File path, and then the prompt is going to be this is the code of a file. And we're just going to shove that into. This is kind of annoying. And that will be evaluated file.content. Please give me a summary of what this file does. So now we get that back and we resolve it, and now we should have this really nice list of summaries. So I think we can just log it and take a look at it. And we're gonna change this summary thing regardless. Let's just do this instead. And let's just drop this. And then let's just explore the result of this. And what we're gonna do is that that's actually what we're gonna embed. And then we're gonna instead of relying on yeah, so we can still have get application summary. Maybe. Or should, because I did implement like a search tool. So it can like do embedding search. And it gets the file path back, and then it can use that file path to read the actual code contents. But anyways, we're gonna start with this and see what happens. Let's open the thing and should start creating the embeddings. And it probably takes some time. And this is the thing, we need to implement this check now. We need to bring in the modified time. Okay, this is a file, is a Vue.js component template that defines a container with padding of 40 in the container is empty and does not contain any content or functionality. This file imports the initialize app function from the Firebase SDK and Firebase configuration object from a JSON file. It then initializes a Firebase app using the configuration object and exports the initialized app as app. And this is the thing, like and this is the theory. It's like this text is a better context to evaluate what the file does than the code itself in terms of embedding search. Like if the embedding search is for specific functions, this will be bad, right? But the point is that this embedding search isn't for specific code, it's conceptual. So the theory is it's better to have conceptual embeddings. But it has the file path. So when it finds a relevant file, it can read the file to make changes to that file. Then it says style web, it includes the base styles, components, and provide to help to style the website's layout and design. Yeah, anyways, this is exactly what I wanted. And the next step would be, like, we don't want to make this request every time. So we need to implement this check the modified time for each of these files. I've been meaning to do that for a long time. But yeah, I haven't gotten to it. Oh. Just helping a colleague. Just 2 seconds. Let's see. I was getting some help to fix something. Maybe we can take a look at it. What was the issue? Yeah, here we go. It's I made a change to. Sorry, I'm just gonna fix this. I'll be right back. Okay, let's see. How do we get the modified time of files? I guess it's using the stat thingy. Where do we get all file path files to embed? So what we're doing here is that we're reading a file, but that's not what we're gonna do. We're gonna actually do some more stuff here. First of all, we're gonna get the stat for it. I guess full path absolute path. That's the right term. So we're gonna get the stat for it. We need that regardless. If we have embedded it already or not, it doesn't matter. We need the full thing. And and then we are gonna check if we actually have it embedded. And I'm not sure. Yeah, by the way, I'm gonna move to Llama index. I'm using this other vector database now, which is really awesome. But I see Llama index is also what I need. I just need like a vector database that I can write to the file system. And Llama index seems like it's a much bigger project. So it probably is better. So we are going to try that, but for now, let's just do where do I do the embedding? Get vector upsert item. And this is also a thing. Get vector. Because currently I'm just shoving the data in there. So I'm not like text splitting. I'm just shoving it in there. But Llama index actually has handles text splitting, so it kind of supports Markdown, which is exactly what we want. So we're not going to create code embeddings. We're just going to create these conceptual code description embeddings. So I think that's generally better, but let's drop that for now and just see if we can read this. This code index. Where were we? Files to embed. Get item, and this would be this would just be file path. That's what I'm current item await. So that might be, I don't think it fails. It's like it's there or it's not there. Or undefined if not found. So if current item and stat dot what does it have? M time is more than current item metadata M time. Yeah, and this doesn't have the proper typing. Oh, is an actual date? Is an actual date? Oh, interesting. Get, how do you get? Is it get time? No. Get date? No. How do you get? Oh, I can't remember. I haven't used this for ages. That's annoying. Let's see. I can't remember this. New date. Get time. Yeah, get time. Get time. And then M time. Yeah. This needs to be like as number. As number. Okay. Yeah, let's keep it like this. So if it has changed, so this is interesting. I have a file watcher that's going to do like the updates live. But the files could have changed. Okay, we're not going to do this now. This is going to be an improvement when we actually implement something. So if current item, so if no current item, we're going to add the item. And that would mean this sucks. So what do we want to do here? I'm mixing up things. So here we want to check if yeah. You know what? Let's keep that check. So yeah, we're just gonna flag it here. So this is tricky because we're kind of reading the contents as well. We don't need to do that unless we actually need to update it. So we're not gonna actually return the contents here. I'm just gonna do, yeah. Let's just comment this out for now. I'm so bad to have been programming for so many years. I'm so slow. I first need to. No, sorry. I have a colleague I'm discussing with on the side here. Yeah, I've been coding for how many years now? 15 years, like professionally. And I'm like shortcuts and stuff. I'm like super bad at it. Super bad. So what we're gonna do here instead, we're just gonna evaluate if we need to update this. Should update, and that's based on no current item or item or the current time of the file is more than what we have in the index. That's the evaluated file. And then we're going to move this into where we actually produce the thingy, which would be down here. So we're only going to go, yeah, so I guess what we can do here, we can filter out what we actually need to do. So filter evaluated file, and we're only going to do evaluated file where should update. So now we're getting evaluated files that we should update. And what we're gonna do is first go and read its contents. And we actually don't care about type at the moment. Yeah, this is also interesting. So this is like summaries. We don't really care about summaries here because now we're putting them into the embedding, or at least that's the idea. Oh, we also need to return the actual M time. M time would be, because we need that, that should be stored in the index. So that we can like actually check it later. Okay. But we don't need, I think we can just iterate. We can do a for each here instead. And we don't need this promise wrapping. We just add to the queue, reading the contents of the file. Yeah, and I guess path, we can just copy this. Yeah, we're gonna do that. So we're just gonna drop all of this stuff. We're gonna do a for each. Let's drop the promise all. We're gonna drop actual resolving promise here. Let's let's see. Cool. That's cleaner. Okay, so for each file, doesn't need to be async. We're gonna add to the queue validate file path. We're gonna add to the queue the content, reading the contents of the file. So this would be content. We're gonna ask OpenAI to create a summary of the file. And then I remove the summary equals response dot choices 0 message content, right? That's the string. Yeah. So we have the summary here, and then we're gonna actually update the index. So where do we have that? That's a documentation component upsert item. Yeah, so now we need to get the vector. This is gonna be interesting. The vector thingy. Like, and if you haven't played around with embeddings and vectors and stuff, it's way simpler than what you would think. Because what we're basically doing here is that, like the complicated thing with embeddings and vectors is making them valuable for an LLM. That's the tricky part. But what we're basically doing here is we're reading contents of the file and we're just using a chat completion to get like the summary. That's like normal. And then what we need to do is use the summary, not content, but summary. And we're going to create vectors out of that. And that's what we're going to shove into our vector store. What was the evaluated file? That file path. That's what we're going to shove into our vector store. So when you actually make a query for an embedding, that's a prompt or some natural language text. And then we ask to convert that into a vector. So you have like this vector database, you have this vector query, and that's how it is actually able to find relevant content. It's using these vectors. And file path here is a valid file path. We have the type, and we want to put in the mtime, which is a valid file mtime. So now we have metadata of type, file path, and mtime. So mtime is used to figure out if it's stale, the index or the item in the index. File path is there to figure out what file to read to get the actual code contents. And then the vector is actually a natural language summary of what's in the file. Like it makes sense, like sounds fancy and makes sense, but it might result in just bad stuff. Okay, so then we have the embeddings, and then we can start asking it for these embeddings. There's another level to this, but what we can do now, we can go in to the actual project directory, and even here, code embeddings. Yeah, let's just delete our code embeddings. Bloop. And then, yeah, and then we have that log. That amazing. Oh shit, what did I do? Damn it. Something I didn't close there. So for each why doesn't it highlight the end of that? Doesn't it do that? Oh, that sucks. That makes it difficult to figure out this problem. So we have, oh god damn it. Like there has to be this is impossible to figure out without having like, oh, it does have that highlighting. Okay, sorry. Excuse me. That's fine. Where the hell does that thing fit in? Oh, there you go. It's the actual key. Oh, it's the queue item. So we're basically missing this thing. Cool. So when we fire it up now, it should look at all the files, and we can. It's fine. We can like log the summary, and that it actually has store index file path evaluated file.file path, and then we can see the summary it's stored. That's nice. Stored index. And then the next time we fire up the application, nothing should happen. So we can validate that as well. So let's try that. And then what we can do next is actually create the function call to search embeddings. And we're going to use this in the planning, because looking at what GitHub did, making the plan based on files, I think that makes sense. But you have the complexity of the order of files to make changes to. And also finding the right files. Like, again, the demo is very engineered. There was nothing there from before. So making an initial suggestion for something is much, much easier than implementing a new feature into an existing code base. So I'm thinking that should kind of be, I'm not sure if it's enough to just, okay, we have this list of files. There needs to be some steps figuring out what's kind of the root component where this new feature should be implemented. It needs to know that. And from there you can, yeah, this is going to be interesting. Much more straightforward to do the idea thing. Well, let's see where we end up with this. Oh, open project folder. Vite config. CSS. So there are certain files I don't really want to embed. Like the it's really only the source files I want to embed, because in this application the user should never really do anything in the root. But anyways, okay, so now we have everything stored in the index, and when I fire it up now, it should just say is code index created. Oh yeah, it's not actually waiting for, yeah, at least it shouldn't pop up this stuff. So let's see if that works. Oh, did it have an error here? Code JSON. Oh, this is weird, right? Oh, I guess it's just undefined or something. That's weird. Anyways. Yeah, but it had an error. Why did it run through the embedding? Like, it shouldn't build unless code JSON. Oh, look at this. Oh, I actually created that error now, I guess. Yeah, let's just do this for now. And let's try open the folder again and make sure that it doesn't create any new embeddings. Oops, it did. Okay, well, we don't need to continue doing that. We need to figure out why it created that. So where do we do this? Isn't m time modified time? And let's just log out. Where do we actually, yeah, stored index, evaluated file, m time. Yeah, let's look at the m time, and then we need to check. Because you shouldn't change the m time when you read the file, right? I'm a little bit confused. No current item, or if the stat m time get time is more than the current metadata m time. Yeah. Evaluating file path m time. Let's see. Should update. We have to make this work before we can continue. Oops. Cool. And like just the formatting also just works here in Z, which is nice. Like it just kind of has this just works feeling. All right. So why are you creating all these embeddings again? So these are the m times. So vite config has 524. And then did I filter? Where is it? Oh wait, we should also check. Stored. Evaluating file. Evaluating file. Yeah, I forgot to put in the should update thing. But I shouldn't put in that. Let's see. Let's just do file path boolean current item. Because you're putting it into the code index, right? I had different indexes for the different. Yeah, it's the code index. Current item. Let's, I guess, current item metadata m time. Let's see what it logs now. Oh, it doesn't find it. Why doesn't it find it? Code index file path. Given its ID. But I add it here. I say upsert item. I find this really weird. Oh. Can I open you in? Vite config, m time. Everything looks fine. Why do you say that it doesn't exist? This code index. Oh, sorry. I forgot. We shouldn't do this. I'm deleting the code index every time. If not, it's created. We're gonna create it. Okay, so let's make sure we have a full index. Move to bin. Yeah, that was the old one, because I want to make sure every time I start an application, I would actually have the latest code index. But that's actually what we're fixing now. So yeah, my bad. My bad. So we'll open again, and let's wait for it to go through the files and create the thingies. Okay, I guess that's it. So if we start it up again, should go through them or not go through them. Nice. Now it's not creating them. Perfect. That's what I was expecting. So what I think I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop the stream. I'm going to eat some food. And then we're going to create the actual embeddings function. Like, it's all in here. It's actually all is ready. You have like search code embeddings. It's all here. So you just need to wire it. And then we're going to we're going to create the first agent. We're going to create the first agent, give it a function to search code embeddings. And then we're going to see what it comes up with in terms of, I think we're just going to ask it questions about files, like what files it should use. And as you see, we just return the ID of the file here. So we're going to do that. That's going to be fun. Okay, but then thanks for following along, and then I'll be back shortly.